Marcus Johnson woke up early that Monday morning. The sun was just coming up as he got ready for what should have been a normal day. At 42 years old, Marcus was a respected man in Westridge. He had built his small construction company from nothing. 20 years of hard work had made him one of the few successful black business owners in town. Another day, Marcus said to himself as he looked in the mirror. He straightened his tie and grabbed his folder of papers from the kitchen table. Today was not a work day. Today he had to go to court. 2 weeks ago, Officer Reed had pulled Marcus over near the new shopping center. Marcus was driving his work truck, coming back from checking on his crew at the building site. License and registration, Officer Reed had said without even a hello. His hand rested on his gun as he stood by Marcus's window. "What seems to be the problem, officer?" Marcus asked politely, keeping his hands where they could be seen. "You ran that stop sign back there." Marcus was confused. "Sir, I'm sure I made a complete stop. I always do, especially in a work zone." The officer's face hardened. "Are you calling me a liar?" "No, sir. I'm just saying I believe I stopped completely." 15 minutes later, Marcus drove away with a $300 ticket in his hand. The fine was much higher than normal for a stop sign violation. Marcus knew something wasn't right. That night, Marcus drove back to the spot. He took pictures with his phone. The stop sign was partly hidden by tree branches that hadn't been trimmed. Anyone could have missed it, but Marcus was sure he had stopped anyway. For the next 2 weeks, Marcus did his homework. He read the local traffic laws. He talked to his cousin who worked as a clerk in a law office one town over. Marcus learned that he had the right to fight the ticket in court. He also learned about other important rights that people in his town often didn't know they had. Marcus had heard stories about Judge William Hayes. The judge had worked in Westridge for 15 years. People said he was tough, but fair to some people, and very unfair to others. Many black residents avoided his courtroom if they could. "You should just pay the ticket," his friend Tony had told him. "You know how Hayes can be with people like us." But Marcus shook his head. "If we never stand up, nothing changes." Now, as Marcus drove to the courthouse, he felt nervous but ready. His folder contained the photos of the hidden stop sign. He had printed out copies of the traffic laws. He had even asked a friend who lived across from that intersection if they had seen anything that day. The courthouse was an old building with tall white columns. It had been built 100 years ago, when black people weren't even allowed to use the front door. Now Marcus walked up those same steps, head held high. Inside, the hallway was crowded with people waiting for their cases. Marcus noticed he was one of only 3 black people there. He sat on a wooden bench and waited for his name to be called. A young woman in a smart business suit sat next to him. "First time in court?" she asked with a friendly smile. "Yes," Marcus replied. "Just fighting a ticket." "Good luck," she said. "I'm Lisa Chen from the Herald newspaper. I come here a lot for stories." Marcus nodded, not knowing this small interaction would become important later. At exactly 9:30, the bailiff called out, "All rise for the Honorable Judge William Hayes." The courtroom fell silent as the judge entered. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. He looked out at the room full of people and frowned slightly. Marcus took a deep breath. He was ready to fight for what was right. He had no idea how this day would change everything, not just for him, but for many others in Westridge. Marcus sat quietly as other cases were called before his. He watched how Judge Hayes handled each person. The judge was quick with white people who came before him. He seemed to believe their stories easily. When the few black or Hispanic people spoke, Judge Hayes asked many hard questions and often cut them off. Marcus wrote notes on a small pad. He was counting how long each person got to speak. White drivers got about 3 minutes. Others got less than 1 minute. Marcus had not planned to record this information, but his grandfather's words came to his mind. "Always watch how people treat others. That's how they'll treat you too." Finally, the bailiff called out, "Case number 47, Marcus Johnson, traffic violation." Marcus stood up and walked to the front of the room. His shoes made soft sounds on the old wooden floor. Everyone was watching him now. "Mr. Johnson," Judge Hayes said without looking up from his papers, "you are charged with running a stop sign on Oak Street on May 12th. The fine is $300. How do you plead?" "Not guilty, Your Honor," Marcus said in a clear, strong voice. Now Judge Hayes looked up. His eyebrows went up a little, like he was surprised. Most people just paid their fines. "Officer Reed," the judge called, "please tell the court what happened." Officer Reed stepped forward from the side of the room. He was in his full uniform with a shiny badge. "On May 12th at about 2:30 p.m., I observed Mr. Johnson's truck approach the stop sign at Oak and Pine. The vehicle slowed but did not come to a complete stop before turning right." "Thank you, officer," Judge Hayes said with a smile. Then he turned to Marcus with a much colder face. "Do you have anything to say, Mr. Johnson?" "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus said. "I did stop completely at that sign. I'd like to show some pictures I took of that intersection." Marcus reached for his folder, but Judge Hayes held up his hand. "Mr. Johnson, are you saying Officer Reed is lying?" the judge asked in a sharp voice. Marcus stayed calm. "No, Your Honor. I'm saying there might be a misunderstanding. The stop sign is partly hidden by tree branches. I'd like to show you." "We don't need to see pictures of a stop sign, Mr. Johnson," Judge Hayes cut in. "Everyone knows what a stop sign looks like." Some people in the courtroom shifted in their seats. This didn't seem fair. Lisa Chen, the newspaper reporter, was writing quickly in her notebook. "Your Honor," Marcus tried again, "I believe I have the right to present evidence in my defense." The judge's face turned a little red. "Mr. Johnson, I run this courtroom. I decide what evidence is needed. Officer Reed has served this community for 15 years. His word is good enough." Marcus took a deep breath. He remembered the laws he had studied. "Your Honor, State Code Section 8.22 says all defendants have the right to present evidence in their defense. I'm simply asking to show my photos." The courtroom got very quiet. No one ever questioned Judge Hayes. He was known for getting angry when people didn't agree with him. Judge Hayes leaned forward. "Mr. Johnson, are you telling me how to do my job?" "No, Your Honor. I'm just asking for my legal rights." The judge's face was getting redder. "I see you have an attitude problem, Mr. Johnson. Perhaps you need to learn some respect for this court." Marcus stood straight and tall. He knew he was right, but he also knew he was in danger now. Judge Hayes was not used to being challenged, especially by a black man. "Your Honor, I mean no disrespect," Marcus said carefully. "I just want a fair hearing." "Fair?" Judge Hayes almost shouted the word. "I'll show you fair." The whole room could feel something bad was about to happen. Officer Reed was smiling a little. Lisa Chen was writing faster than ever. And Marcus stood alone, facing a judge who looked ready to explode with anger. Judge Hayes pointed his finger at Marcus. "One more word from you about how I should run my court, and you'll regret it. Do you understand me, Mr. Johnson?" Marcus had a choice to make. He could back down and accept the unfair ticket, or he could stand his ground and face whatever came next. Marcus looked Judge Hayes right in the eye. A voice in his head told him to back down. "Just pay the fine," it said. "Don't make trouble." But a stronger voice, one that sounded like his grandfather, told him to stand firm. "Your Honor," Marcus said in a calm, steady voice, "I respect this court. I'm only asking to show evidence that might help you make a fair decision." Judge Hayes slammed his hand down on his desk. The sound made everyone jump. "That's it. I warned you, Mr. Johnson." The judge's face was now dark red. "I find you in contempt of court. You will pay a fine of $25,000, due immediately." Gasps filled the room. No one could believe what they had just heard. $25,000 for asking to show a picture. People looked at each other with wide eyes. Even Officer Reed seemed shocked. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. That amount would hurt his business badly. He had 15 workers who depended on him for their jobs. This fine could ruin everything he had worked for. For a moment, Marcus couldn't speak. Judge Hayes smiled, thinking he had won. "Bailiff," the judge said, "take Mr. Johnson into custody until he can pay the fine." The bailiff, a big man named Tom, moved toward Marcus. But before he reached him, Marcus found his voice again. "Your Honor," Marcus said, his voice stronger now, "I need to inform you of something important." Judge Hayes frowned. "I'm done listening to you, Mr. Johnson." "This is about State Code Section 5.14, Marcus continued anyway. "It says that contempt fines in municipal courts cannot go over $500 without review by a 3-judge panel." The room went completely silent. Marcus pulled a paper from his folder and held it up. "I have the law right here, and I'd like to request such a panel review right now." Judge Hayes stared at Marcus with his mouth slightly open. He clearly hadn't expected Marcus to know this law. "Furthermore," Marcus said, taking the small recorder from his pocket, "I've been recording this hearing, which is legal in public court sessions in our state." The judge's face changed from red to white in seconds. His hands began to shake. "I've also documented how long each person got to speak today," Marcus continued. "White drivers got 3 minutes on average. Others got less than 1 minute. I counted 7 cases just this morning where white defendants were allowed to show evidence, but you tried to stop me." Lisa Chen, the newspaper reporter, was writing so fast her pen might break. Other people in the courtroom were watching with amazement. No one had ever seen Judge Hayes lose control of his courtroom like this. "And one more thing," Marcus said, his voice firm, but not angry. "I've already sent a copy of this recording to the State Judicial Review Board, along with my notes about today's cases." Judge Hayes tried to speak, but only made a choking sound. He reached for his water glass and took a big drink. The bailiff looked at the judge, waiting for instructions. But Judge Hayes seemed unable to speak. Marcus stood tall, waiting. He hadn't planned all this. He had only brought the recorder because his cousin had suggested it might help him remember details later. The notes about other cases were just something he had done while waiting. But now, these simple tools had changed everything. Finally, Judge Hayes found his voice, but it was much quieter now. "Mr. Johnson," he said, clearing his throat, "perhaps we should reconsider. The contempt charge is dismissed." A small smile appeared on Marcus's face, but he kept his voice respectful. "Thank you, Your Honor. Now about those photos of the stop sign." Judge Hayes nodded quickly. Yes. The court will see your evidence." Marcus walked forward and placed his phone on the judge's desk. The pictures clearly showed how tree branches covered part of the stop sign. Anyone could have trouble seeing it. People in the courtroom watched with amazement. The same judge who had been ready to ruin Marcus's life minutes ago was now looking at his phone pictures with great interest. Lisa Chen caught Marcus's eye from her seat and gave him a small thumbs up. Something big had just happened in this small-town courtroom. After looking at Marcus's photos, Judge Hayes cleared his throat. The courtroom was still very quiet. Everyone was watching to see what would happen next. In light of this evidence, Judge Hayes said, not looking at Marcus, "The court dismisses the ticket against Mr. Johnson." A soft murmur went through the room. People could hardly believe what they had just seen. Judge Hayes, who never changed his mind, had just backed down completely. "Thank you, Your Honor," Marcus said politely. He gathered his papers and put his phone back in his pocket. As Marcus turned to leave, Judge Hayes spoke again. His voice was low, but everyone could hear him. "Mr. Johnson, please wait in my office. I'd like to speak with you privately after court." Marcus nodded and walked to the small door beside the judge's bench. He felt people watching him. Some looked worried for him. Was the judge planning to get revenge somehow? For the next hour, Marcus sat alone in the judge's office. The walls were covered with framed law degrees and awards. Pictures showed Judge Hayes shaking hands with important people. Marcus waited calmly, thinking about what had just happened in court. Finally, the door opened and Judge Hayes walked in. He looked older now, tired. He sat down behind his big desk and stared at Marcus for a long moment. "Mr. Johnson," he finally said, "you've put me in a difficult position today." Marcus stayed quiet, waiting. "That recording you made," Judge Hayes continued, "and those notes about different treatment, if they reach certain people, it could end my career." "I understand that, Your Honor," Marcus said simply. Judge Hayes leaned forward. "What do you want? Money? A favor? What will it take for this to go away?" Marcus was surprised. The judge thought he wanted to make a deal, maybe even take a bribe. He shook his head slowly. "I don't want anything from you, Judge Hayes. I just wanted a fair hearing today." "Everyone wants something," the judge insisted. "Just name your price." Marcus looked the judge straight in the eyes. "What I want can't be bought. I want justice, not just for me, but for everyone who comes into your courtroom." Judge Hayes laughed, but there was no joy in it. "Justice? Do you know how the real world works, Mr. Johnson?" "I know how it should work," Marcus answered, "and I know the laws that are supposed to make it work that way." The judge's face hardened. "You think you're so smart because you read a few laws. You have no idea what forces you're playing with." "I'm not playing," Marcus said firmly. "And I'm not keeping this quiet. People need to know what happens in your courtroom." Judge Hayes stood up suddenly. His face was getting red again. "You're making a big mistake. I have friends in this town. Powerful friends. Your little construction company won't get any more contracts. Your workers will lose their jobs. Is that what you want?" Marcus also stood up. He wasn't going to let the judge look down on him. "Are you threatening me now, Judge Hayes? Would you like me to record that too?" The judge stepped back, realizing his mistake. Marcus hadn't said he had stopped recording. "Get out of my office," Judge Hayes said in a low, angry voice. Marcus walked to the door, but turned back for one last word. "You know, Your Honor, you could just start treating everyone fairly. That would solve both our problems." Marcus left the office and walked through the now empty courtroom. Outside on the courthouse steps, he took a deep breath of fresh air. The sun felt good on his face. He didn't notice Lisa Chen, the newspaper reporter, waiting for him until she spoke. "Mr. Johnson, I'd like to talk to you about what happened in court today." Marcus looked at her, thinking fast. The judge had tried to threaten him. Maybe his story needed to be told. Maybe others needed to know they could stand up too. "I have some time," Marcus said. "What would you like to know?" Marcus and Lisa sat at a small coffee shop across from the courthouse. The place was busy with people talking about work and life. No one paid attention to them in the corner table. "So you recorded the whole thing?" Lisa asked, her notebook open. Marcus nodded. "It's legal in our state. Court is a public place. And you knew about the law limiting contempt fines. Most lawyers don't even remember that one." "My cousin works for a law firm," Marcus explained. "When I told her I was going to court, she helped me learn some basic rights. Said knowledge is the best protection." Lisa wrote quickly in her notebook. "Do you mind if I record our talk too?" "Not at all," Marcus said. Lisa set her phone on the table and pressed record. "Mr. Johnson, can you tell me why you decided to fight this ticket?" Marcus thought for a moment. It wasn't just about the money. It was about being treated fairly. That stop sign is hard to see with those branches covering it. The city should fix that before someone gets hurt. And what about Judge Hayes? People have complained about him for years, but nothing changes. Marcus sipped his coffee. "I didn't go in planning to challenge the judge. I just wanted my fair day in court. But when he wouldn't let me show my evidence, I knew something was wrong." "You risked a lot," Lisa said. "That $25,000 fine could have hurt your business badly." "That's why I had to speak up," Marcus said. "I employ 15 people. They have families. I couldn't let an unfair fine hurt all those people. As they talked, Marcus noticed 3 men enter the coffee shop. They wore expensive suits and looked important. One was Mayor Wilson. Another was Chief Roberts from the police department. The third man Marcus didn't know, but he looked like a lawyer. The 3 men saw Marcus and Lisa. They frowned and quickly left the shop. They didn't look happy to see us talking, Lisa said. Judge Hayes said he had powerful friends, Marcus replied. I guess he wasn't lying about that. Lisa's phone rang. She answered it, listened for a minute, then hung up. Her face looked worried. That was my editor, she said. He just got a call from the newspaper's owner. They don't want me to write this story. Can they stop you? Marcus asked. They can try, Lisa said with a small smile. But I've been keeping records too. For the past year, I've documented every time my stories about Judge Hayes or Mayor Wilson were blocked. Marcus nodded with understanding. So we both came prepared. It seems that way, Lisa agreed. My editor secretly supports me. He says if they block this story, we'll take everything we have to the State News Association. Marcus thought about what this meant. His simple traffic ticket had opened a much bigger door. Maybe this wasn't just about him anymore. What do you think will happen now? He asked. Lisa closed her notebook. That depends. Are you willing to let me use your recording in my story? And would you testify if the State Judicial Board investigates Judge Hayes? Marcus remembered the faces of people in court that morning. How they looked down when the judge spoke to them. How they accepted unfair treatment because they thought they had no choice. Yes, Marcus said firmly. I'll help any way I can. As they left the coffee shop, Marcus noticed a car parked across the street. Officer Reed sat inside, watching them. The officer quickly looked away when Marcus saw him. Looks like we're being watched, Marcus said quietly. Are you scared? Lisa asked. A little, Marcus admitted. But my grandfather always said, fear is just a feeling. Courage is a choice. Lisa smiled. I think your grandfather would be proud today. Marcus nodded. I hope so. But I think this is just the beginning. He was right. By that evening, his phone would not stop ringing. And the simple story of a traffic ticket would grow into something much bigger than anyone expected. When Marcus got home that evening, his phone would not stop ringing. First, it was his workers asking if everything was okay. News about the court had spread fast in their small town. Then friends called to check on him. By 8 p.m., even people he barely knew were calling. Marcus sat on his porch, watching the sun go down. His neighborhood was quiet, with neat houses and small yards. He had lived here for 10 years. It was a good place, but not perfect. Many problems stayed hidden because people were afraid to speak up. His phone rang again. This time, it was a number he didn't know. Hello, Mr. Johnson. This is Thomas Harris from the State Judicial Review Board. Marcus sat up straight. Yes, sir. How can I help you? We received your recording today, Mr. Harris said. I've been on this board for 20 years, and what I heard was troubling. I just wanted to be treated fairly, Marcus said. You deserve that, Mr. Harris agreed. Everyone does. We've had complaints about Judge Hayes before, but never with such clear evidence. Would you be willing to meet with our board next week? Yes, I would, Marcus said. After hanging up, Marcus noticed a car driving slowly past his house. It was the 3rd time he had seen it. Someone was watching him. His phone rang again. This time, it was Lisa. Marcus, my editor, went against the owner. We're running the story tomorrow, front page. But there's something else you should know. What is it? Marcus asked. I did some digging, Lisa said. Judge Hayes, Mayor Wilson, and some others own land where that new shopping center is being built. Your company is working on that project, right? Yes, Marcus said. We got the contract fair and square. The company that usually gets those contracts is owned by the mayor's brother, Lisa explained. Some people weren't happy when your company won. Marcus thought about this. So that's why the stop sign ticket. They were looking for ways to cause me trouble. It seems that way, Lisa said. Be careful, Marcus. These people have a lot to lose if your story gets too big. Later that night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table looking at old photos. One showed his grandfather standing in front of the construction company's first truck. Another showed Marcus with his workers after finishing their first big job. A loud knock on the door startled him. It was almost midnight. Marcus looked through the window first. 2 police cars were parked outside, lights flashing. Officer Reed stood at the door with another officer. Marcus opened the door. "Can I help you, officers?" "Marcus Johnson," Officer Reed said with a smirk. "We have a warrant to search your property for stolen building materials." Stolen materials? Marcus was shocked. That's ridiculous. "Step aside, sir," the other officer said, "or we'll have to move you." Marcus knew his rights. "May I see the warrant, please?" Officer Reed handed him a paper. Marcus read it carefully. It was signed by Judge Hayes just 1 hour ago. "You can search," Marcus said calmly, "but you won't find anything because I haven't stolen anything." For the next 2 hours, the officers went through Marcus's house and garage. They found nothing because there was nothing to find, but they left his home a mess. As they were leaving, Marcus's phone rang again. It was his night foreman. "Boss, the police are at our work site at the shopping center. They say they have a warrant to search for stolen materials. They're making us stop all work." Marcus closed his eyes. They were trying to delay his project. If he missed deadlines, he could lose the contract. "Tell everyone to cooperate fully," Marcus told his foreman. "We have nothing to hide." After hanging up, Marcus made another call, this time to Lisa. "They're coming after my business now," he explained. "False accusations, police searches. This proves how scared they are," Lisa said. "Marcus, do you want to back down?" Marcus looked at the photo of his grandfather again. "No," he said firmly. "I'm not backing down, but I need to be smarter about how I fight back." Marcus woke up early the next morning. He had only slept for 3 hours, but his mind was clear. He knew what he needed to do. First, he called all 15 of his workers to a meeting at his house. By 7 a.m., they filled his living room. These men had worked with him for years. Some had been with him since the beginning. "I need to tell you what's happening," Marcus said. He explained everything: the court case, Judge Hayes, the connection to the shopping center, and the false accusations. "They're trying to shut us down," he finished. "I want you all to know that you can quit if you're worried. I'll understand." The room was quiet. Then Big Mike, Marcus's oldest worker, stood up. "I'm not quitting. These rich guys think they own this town. It's time someone showed them they don't." One by one, every worker agreed to stay. Marcus felt his eyes get wet. These men were not just workers. They were family. "Thank you," he said. "But we need to be smart. From now on, I want 2 people working together at all times. Take pictures of everything you do. Save all receipts. We can't give them any excuse to accuse us again." After the workers left for the job site, Marcus drove to the local bank. Mr. Phillips, the bank manager, had been his friend for years. "Marcus, I saw the paper this morning," Mr. Phillips said as Marcus walked in. He held up the Herald with the headline, "Judge tries to silence local business owner with $25,000 fine." "That's why I'm here," Marcus said. "I need to know if my business loans are safe." Mr. Phillips looked uncomfortable. "I got a call from Mayor Wilson this morning. He suggested we review your loans." "And what did you tell him?" Marcus asked. "I told him that's not how banking works," Mr. Phillips said with a small smile. "Your loans are solid. Your business is good. Unless that changes, we stand with you." Marcus shook his hand. "Thank you." Next, Marcus drove to the shopping center construction site. Police tape was still up from last night's search. His workers were standing around, unable to work. As Marcus parked his truck, A fancy car pulled up. Mayor Wilson got out with a man in an expensive suit. "Mr. Johnson," the mayor said with a fake smile, "this is unfortunate. These delays could cause you to miss your deadlines." "The delays caused by your false accusations?" Marcus asked calmly. The mayor's smile disappeared. "This is Mr. Benson, the developer. He's concerned about your ability to finish this job." Mr. Benson looked uncomfortable. "No hard feelings, Mr. Johnson, but delays cost money. We might need to find another contractor." Marcus looked the developer in the eye. "Before you decide, you should know that I've documented everything. The sudden traffic ticket near your site. Judge Hayes trying to fine me $25,000 when I questioned it. The mayor's interest in my contract. The police searches with no evidence. It all looks a lot like harassment and corruption." The mayor's face turned red. "Are you threatening us?" "No," Marcus said. "I'm just stating facts. Facts that the State Business Bureau and the FBI might find interesting." Mr. Benson looked at the mayor with new eyes. "Wilson, you told me this was a simple contract issue." "It is," the mayor said quickly. "Johnson is just making wild accusations." "Then why is the State Judicial Board investigating Judge Hayes?" Marcus asked. "And why did Lisa Chen just tell me she's found 6 other business owners who lost contracts after challenging you?" This was a bluff. Lisa hadn't found other business owners yet, but the way the mayor's face paled told Marcus he had hit the truth. Mr. Benson took a step away from the mayor. "I think I need to reconsider some things. Mr. Johnson, please continue your work. I'll make sure the police tape is removed today." As they drove away, Marcus felt a small victory, but he knew the fight was far from over. The mayor and judge would not give up so easily, and Marcus still had to face the Judicial Review Board to tell this story. His phone rang. It was Lisa again. "Marcus, you won't believe what I just found out about Judge Hayes' past." Judge Hayes wasn't always a judge, Lisa told Marcus over the phone. 20 years ago, he was a lawyer for big construction companies. He helped them get all the major contracts in 3 counties. Marcus sat in his truck, listening carefully. "How is that connected to now?" "One of those companies was owned by Mayor Wilson's family," Lisa explained. "When Hayes became a judge, suddenly Wilson's family started winning every government contract. Until you came along." Marcus thought about this. "So they've been working together for years?" "Yes," Lisa said. "And there's more. I found a former city worker named James Taylor who says he was fired 10 years ago when he questioned some of the contracts. He's willing to talk now." This news gave Marcus hope. He wasn't fighting alone anymore. The next day was the meeting with the State Judicial Review Board. Marcus dressed in his best suit and drove 2 hours to the state capitol. The board met in a big government building with marble floors and tall columns. 5 serious-looking people sat at a long table, 3 women and 2 men. They were the board members who would decide Judge Hayes' future. "Mr. Johnson," said the chairwoman, Mrs. Rivera, "thank you for coming. We've heard your recording and read the newspaper article. Now we'd like to hear directly from you." For the next hour, Marcus told his story. He explained the traffic ticket, the court hearing, and everything that happened after. He shared how Judge Hayes tried to brag him to stay quiet. He told them about the police searches and the pressure on his business. The board members listened carefully and took many notes. They asked good questions. They seemed to care about finding the truth. "Mr. Johnson," Mrs. Rivera said when Marcus finished, "your testimony is very concerning. But it's your word against Judge Hayes. Do you have any other evidence?" "Yes," Marcus said. He handed them a folder. "These are statements from 6 other business owners who lost contracts after appearing in Judge Hayes' court. Lisa Chen from the Herald helped find them. They were all afraid to speak up before, but now they're willing to tell their stories." Marcus also gave them a letter from Mr. Benson, the shopping center developer. The letter explained how Mayor Wilson had pushed him to cancel Marcus's contract after the court incident. The board members looked through these papers with serious faces. "This is a pattern of behavior," one of the mail board members said. "Not just one incident." Mrs. Rivera nodded. "Mr. Johnson, we need to review all of this evidence, but I want you to know that we take these allegations very seriously. Judge Hayes will be called to answer these charges." As Marcus left the building, he felt lighter somehow. For years, people like Judge Hayes had used their power to hurt others. Now someone was finally listening. When Marcus got back to Westridge that evening, he found a surprise waiting. More than 50 people were gathered outside his house. They held signs saying, "Stand with Marcus," and "Justice for all." Marcus recognized many faces. Some were former defendants from Judge Hayes's court. Others were small business owners. Many were just regular people who wanted things to change. Maria Garcia, who owned the local bakery, stepped forward. "We read about what you did in court, Marcus. How you stood up to Judge Hayes. It gave us courage." "I didn't do it to be a hero," Marcus said honestly. "But you are," Maria replied. "For years, we've all been afraid to speak up. Now we're finding our voices too." The crowd clapped and cheered. Marcus felt both happy and worried. The support was good, but it meant Judge Hayes and Mayor Wilson would see him as an even bigger threat now. As if reading his thoughts, Maria added, "They can't come after all of us. We're watching out for each other now." For the first time since this all began, Marcus truly believed he might win this fight. Not just for himself, but for everyone in Westridge who deserved justice. His phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. "Breaking news coming tomorrow. The state attorney general is opening an investigation into Judge Hayes and Mayor Wilson. This is getting big." 6 months had passed since that day in court when Judge Hayes tried to fine Marcus $25,000. The small town of Westridge had changed in ways no one could have imagined. On a sunny Monday morning, Marcus stood outside the courthouse. It looked the same with its tall white columns and wide steps. But inside, things were very different now. "Ready?" Lisa asked, standing beside him with her reporter's notebook. "Ready," Marcus nodded. They walked into the courtroom together. The room was packed with people. Some were faces Marcus knew well, his workers, local business owners, and community members who had joined his cause. Others were reporters from big city newspapers and TV stations. At the front of the room, a new judge sat at the bench. Judge Sarah Thompson had been appointed 3 months ago after Judge Hayes was removed from his position. She was known for being fair and honest. "All rise," the bailiff called as Mayor Wilson was led into the courtroom. The mayor looked smaller somehow, without his usual confident smile. He wore a plain suit instead of his expensive ones. He didn't look at Marcus or anyone else as he took his seat at the defendant's table. Today was his sentencing hearing. Last month, he had pleaded guilty to corruption, bribery, and abuse of power. The state attorney general's investigation had found clear evidence that Mayor Wilson and Judge Hayes had worked together for years to control town contracts and punish anyone who challenged them. Judge Thompson spoke clearly. "Robert Wilson, you have pleaded guilty to serious crimes against the people of this town. You used your position of trust to enrich yourself and your friends. You hurt honest business owners who simply wanted to work hard and be treated fairly." The mayor stared at the floor as she continued. "I sentence you to 5 years in prison and order you to pay back $1.2 million to the town of Westridge." People in the courtroom nodded with satisfaction. Justice was finally being served. After the hearing, Marcus stepped outside to find more people waiting. A young black woman approached him with a smile. "Mr. Johnson, I'm Tanya Washington. I just passed the bar exam, and I'm opening a legal aid clinic in town. Your story inspired me to come back home and help people understand their rights." Marcus shook her hand warmly. "That's wonderful news." As Tanya walked away, Marcus's phone rang. It was Mr. Benson, the shopping center developer. "Marcus, I wanted to let you know the grand opening is scheduled for next month. Your team did fantastic work. I'm hoping Johnson Construction will bid on my next 3 projects as well." "We'd be happy to," Marcus said with a smile. Later that afternoon, Marcus visited the community center where he now taught a free class called Know Your Rights. The room was always full of people eager to learn about laws that protected them. As Marcus set up his materials, he noticed Judge Hayes's photo in the newspaper on a nearby table. The headline read, "Former Judge Sentenced to 7 years for Corruption." Marcus didn't feel happy about Hayes's punishment. He only felt relief that the man could no longer hurt people with his power. "Mr. Johnson." A young voice pulled Marcus from his thoughts. A teenage boy stood in the doorway. "My dad says you're the reason things are better now. He said one man can make a difference if he knows his rights and isn't afraid." Marcus thought about that day in court 6 months ago, how close he had come to giving in, how easy it would have been to just pay the fine and walk away. "Your dad is right," Marcus told the boy, "but it wasn't just me. It took many brave people speaking up together." That evening, Marcus sat on his porch watching the sunset. His grandfather's old saying came to mind again, "Know the rules better than those who make them." Marcus smiled. Those words had saved him that day in court when Judge Hayes tried to silence him with a $25,000 fine. But the real victory wasn't just turning the tables on one corrupt judge. The real victory was how one moment of courage had sparked change throughout Westridge. Now when people saw something wrong, they spoke up. When someone abused power, others stood together against it. The town wasn't perfect, no place is, but it was better. And that made everything worth it.